Today, Canon has announced this, the EOS RP. It's their second full-frame mirrorless camera and it sits beneath the R. It's also their most lightweight and affordable full-frame camera that the company has ever launched. I'm going to be putting it through its paces this afternoon with my model for the day, actor Jamie Barnard.
Music got the best in me ever since I was a child. Now it's showing its ugly face. What can I do?
Now this camera is built around a 26.2 megapixel full-frame CMOS sensor, a bit like in Canon's 6D Mark II. Apart from this time, it's been paired with a Digic 8 processor. Now, comparing this device to the M-mount line of CSCs from Canon, which had a smaller APS-C size sensor, it's going to produce better dynamic range, cleaner results at higher ISOs, and it's also going to make it much easier for its users to produce those kind of stylishly shallow depths of field in images, which is often really popular with professional users. Now this resolution isn't quite as high as the 30.3 megapixels offered by the R, but it does carry a slightly higher resolution than the basic full-frame models produced by most manufacturers, providing plenty of scope for large-scale printing. The camera has a native ISO range of 100 to 40,000 and an extended high of 102,400 and an extended low of 50. Now at the moment I can only see the camera's JPEGs, but file quality seems very good indeed. I'd be interested to take the camera out into an environment with more testing light conditions to see how it gets on, but certainly today I've not seen anything to concern me at all. When it comes to the camera's burst shooting options, 5 frames per second is possible with focus locked or 4 frames per second with autofocus tracking. A 50-shot RAW buffer is quoted by Canon. Now these aren't figures that are going to wow a wildlife or sports specialist, but for general day-to-day shooters it's probably going to be more than adequate. In comparison, the higher spec R can do 8 frames per second with focus locked or 5 with tracking. Available metered shutter speeds on this camera stretch from 30 seconds to 1/4000th of a second, while its flash sync speed is 1/180th of a second. Now the RP is Canon's second camera to make use of the RF mount, for which at the moment there are 4 native lenses available. That lens range is going to expand quickly though, with the brand heavily investing in this system over the next year. One of the nice things about this camera though is that it ships with this, the EF to R mount adapter. So if you're an existing Canon user and you've already got an investment in lots of Canon DSLR glass, you're going to be able to transition to this camera really quickly and really easily and still make use of all your existing lenses. This camera has a dual pixel phase detection autofocus system which covers 88% of the frame horizontally and 100% of the frame vertically. Now it will continue to operate down to light levels as low as -5 EV, which means if you find yourself shooting in some really tricky light conditions, it's still going to be able to find focus on your subject both quickly and accurately. Now that operation range is slightly more limited than the EOS R, which will continue to operate down to -6 EV, but should outperform most DSLRs which generally reach their limit at around -3 or -4 EV. Face and eye tracking are available on this camera alongside all the standard focusing options, and 4,779 autofocus points are selectable. So let's talk about the handling of this camera a little bit more then, because it's a very different device to the R. Firstly, it's light. It's very light at 485 grams. Now, that's around 245 grams less than the 6D Mark II. And it's also extremely compact. It's around 13 centimeters by 8.5. So if you're a travel shooter or a street shooter that's looking for a really compact setup, this camera is going to be the R model that'll appeal to you. If you're a sports or wildlife shooter and you're going to pair it with long lenses, perhaps the R is still the model to go for there. Now there have been some fairly obvious changes in terms of control layout to the R. Firstly, that top panel reference LCD is gone and a mode dial has now been added. Gone too is the touch bar on the back of the device. We still have a good selection of controls available though, with most settings kept easily accessible. The RP has a 0.39-inch 2.36mm dot EVF with a 0.7 times magnification. That's smaller and lower resolution than the Rs, but still a fair offering for an amateur or enthusiast aimed device. It can be set to refresh at up to 60 frames per second. It's been paired with a 7.5cm 1.04 dot vari-angle touchscreen. Again, lower resolution and smaller in size than its siblings offering, but with the ability to front face it, this camera could still be a popular option for vloggers while aiding stills composition at testing high and low angles. The camera has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth for remote file transfer and camera control, and like the R, a single SD card slot. The camera takes Canon's smaller LPE17 battery, which helps it to achieve its compact form factor, but does mean that the device is only rated for a more reserved 250 shots on each full charge. Like the R, the RP has no in-body stabilisation system, but does feature a dual sensing IS system that, when paired with an optic with its own in-lens stabilisation, will combat camera shake. Now, when this camera first hit the rumour websites, one of the most debated areas of its feature set was whether it was going to be recording 4K or not, and I'm pleased to be able to confirm that this camera can shoot 4K at up to 30 frames per second in UHD. Now, that's the same resolution and same frame rate as the R. Now, it records 420 8-bit at 120 megabits per second internally. It lacks the 480 megabits per second bitrate that the R offers, and it too has a 57% crop of the sensor. Full HD footage can be recorded at 60 frames per second though, and the camera does pleasingly have both a headphone input and an input for an external microphone. A mini HDMI port allows the camera to output 4K in 422 8-bit, but not 10-bit like the R. Hitting UK shelves at £1,399, including its lens mount adapter, the RP might not have those headline-grabbing specifications of some CSC cameras, but I think it might just prove to be Canon's most competitive mirrorless camera yet. With its compact size and video features, it's really going to appeal to vloggers and travel shooters, while with that lens mount adapter in box, those looking to upgrade from a Canon DSLR with an existing investment in lenses are really going to be tempted by this device, I think. So, for more information about it, visit lcegroup.co.uk.